Hello guys, a very good day to all of you. I am Darryl Matthew George. Some of you have met me, some of you have been in my classes the last time. So we meet after a relatively long time. I know that your exams are, your internal tests are underway. So we are here once again. We meet after a long time. So this time we'll be giving a one-shot uh, quick package preparation for our first internal test. So all the syllabus in your first internal test English will be covered in this video. So without further ado, let us start the classes. So a good day again. So we have four chapters in this five chapters in the first internal exam. So we'll start with chapter 1, Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. We do not have the entire play Romeo and Juliet. We have just two stanzas from the play. So two very meaningful stanzas. So we'll see what are the two stanzas and the poetic devices. So chapter 1, Romeo and Juliet. Romeo is completely transfixed by Juliet's beauty, describing her as a light so radiant she actually teaches torches how to shine. She teaches torches to burn bright, is what Romeo says. So to him, she stands out against the darkness of the room like a sparkling diamond against dark skin. So in the poem, it's given a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. So it's basically a sparkling diamond or a jewel in contrast to a dark skin. So that is how Juliet stands out as compared to the other women. Or a pure white dove moving among a flock of common crows. So a snowy white dove trooping among a group of crows is the line. So he immediately questions his past feelings. So as we all know, before meeting Juliet, Romeo had an infatuation towards a lady named Rosalind. So until the moment he met Juliet, all his attention was drawn towards Rosalind. So the moment he meets Juliet, he feels or he realizes that there was never a woman this beautiful. So it was at this moment that he felt true love. Okay. So he immediately questions his past feelings, specifically his recent love for Rosalind, dismissing them as fake because he believes he has never seen true beauty until this very second. He resolves to find where she stands once the dance is over, so he can touch her hand and be blessed by the contact. So the measure done, you can see the measure done in the poem, the first stanza. The measure done is once the party or once the dance is over. Okay, so he can touch her hand and be blessed by the contact. So that is how much he's taken aback by Juliet's beauty. So here are the themes that we see in the first stanza. So light versus dark. Romeo uses high contrast imagery, torches. Okay, torch. Juliet is compared to torch, as and the other women are compared to night. So that is a contrast. The next imagery is snowy dove. So Juliet is snowy dove, and the troop of crows are compared to the other women. So that is how Juliet stands out as compared to the other women. To show how Juliet pops out of her surroundings. Hyperbole. So there's a kind of exaggeration. He claims she is too rich for use, suggesting her beauty is so divine it shouldn't even belong on earth. So that is how divine Juliet's beauty is what Romeo is saying. Next is fickleness. It's a classic love at first sight moment, but it also highlights Romeo's tendency to jump from one obsession to the next in a heartbeat. As we all know, he was first transfixed, or he was first having an infatuation with Rosalind. But the moment he saw Juliet, all his feelings for Rosalind disappear. So you can see that is the fickle mindedness of Romeo, right? Moving on to the second stanza. So yeah, here are the poetic devices that are used. Simile. Romeo uses several comparisons. So you know, simile is anything that uses like or as to compare something to something else. So if like and as is used, it is easy to identify simile. So where are the similes here? So like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear is an example for a simile. Like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. He compares her brightness to a sparkling earring against a dark complexion. The next simile that is used is as yonder lady over fellows show. So he compares her presence among other women to a superior being among commoners. So you can see the example, the snowy dove trooping among crows. So that is the simile here. Okay. So the snowy dove is compared to Juliet, and the crows are being compared to the other women. Next, the metaphor. Unlike the similes, these are direct identifications that elevate her status. A snowy dove trooping with crows. Juliet is the dove, symbol of peace, purity, and beauty, while everyone else is a crow, common, loud, and dark. Yeah, moving on. So we finished Romeo's soliloquy. Moving on to Juliet's soliloquy. What is a soliloquy? So you speak to yourself. You express your thoughts to yourself. You usually talk to yourself very loudly. So that is soliloquy. So this is Juliet's soliloquy. So speaking one's thoughts aloud to themselves. So come night, come Romeo, come thou day in night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow on a raven's back. Come gentle night, come loving black-browed night, give me my Romeo, and when she shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night, and pay no worship to the garish sun. So this is Juliet's soliloquy. So what is she intending? So let's find out. So this famous soliloquy from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet compares Juliet's intense, impatient longing for her wedding night. So here is a summary of her sentiments. Okay, so these are the core themes. A plea for the night. Juliet personifies this night, begging it to arrive quickly. Okay, to her, night isn't darkened, scary. It's a gentle, so she only says it's gentle, loving, black-browed night. So night is not something that Juliet is afraid of. Okay, so she embraces or she welcomes night. So it isn't dark and scary. It's a gentle and loving protector that hides her private life from the world. Romeo as light. So in this darkness, Romeo stands out. Okay, how does he stand out? He stands out as the new snow on a raven's back. He also stands out as a light. Okay, so Romeo as light. She uses a striking contrast, oxymoron, by calling Romeo day in night. She describes him as whiter than new snow on a raven's back. So a raven, it's a bird with a very dark complexion. Okay, it's black, you can say almost black. It's like a crow. So the white snow on a raven's back is a contrast. It's a contrasting image. So this white snow here is Romeo. Okay, Romeo coming to meet his love Juliet is like the new snow. Okay, on a raven's back. So suggesting that his presence provides its own brilliant light even in the pitch black. Immortalizing her love. In a beautiful macabre bit of foreshadowing, she asks the night to take Romeo when he eventually dies and cut him out into little stars. Okay, so she says, and when he dies, cut him out into little stars. So what is Julia trying to say? She wants to immortalize him. Okay, so even after his death, let the world remember. Okay, now you see stars every day at night. So similarly, Juliet believes that she wants to see Romeo among the stars. She wants Romeo to be immortalized. Okay, so even after death, let Romeo be present every day in the night sky. She wants Romeo to be immortalized. So the garish sun. She argues that Romeo's beauty as a constellation would make the night sky so magnificent that people would stop worshipping the bright garish sun and fall in love with the darkness instead. Juliet is so deeply in love that she wants to skip the day entirely. She views Romeo as a light so bright that he could outshine the sun and turn the entire world into lovers of the night. So, until that point, people paid more heed to day than night. Okay, night was a time when there was less work. People used to settle at homes. So, people celebrated day more, as in people came out during the day. So, Juliet believed that post Romeo's death, let people fall in love with the night sky because Romeo will be one among the night sky. So, as Romeo dies, let all the people out there celebrate night over day. Okay. So, Juliet is, yeah. So, here are the poetic devices that are used. Simile, whiter than new snow on a raven's back. This highlights the stark contrast between Romeo, so the light purity, and the night. So the night here can refer to the darkness or the secrecy. Metaphor is also used. Take him and cut him out in little stars. She isn't being literal. She is comparing his beauty to the eternal brilliance of a constellation. Yeah, moving on. With that, we finished chapter 1. So chapter 1 was not the entire play we have, but two very meaningful stanzas. Moving on to chapter 2. Okay. Okay. Chapter 1, we do not have the whole play. We just have two meaningful stanzas. So moving on to chapter 2. Too Dear by Leo Tolstoy. A very humorous lesson, you can say. A critique of how society works. Satirical. Okay, moving on. So the story is set in Monaco. Okay. At the time the story was written, Monaco is described as an independent kingdom that is sandwiched between France and Italy. So Monaco comes in between. Today Monaco is of course a part of France. The story is set in Monaco, a tiny kingdom on the shores of the Mediterranean. It is so small that it has only about 7,000 inhabitants and an army of only 60 men. So we are introduced to this kingdom. It's very tiny. Okay, some 7,000 people and a small army of 60 men. So they never really need to go to war. Okay, so we are already the writer already sets the tone. Okay, of where the story is heading. The revenue, the kinglet of Monaco. So the same way how we call the young one of a pig as a piglet, the writer is very humorously calling the king of Monaco, addressing him as a kinglet. Why is he being addressed as a kinglet? Because he is the ruler of a very tiny kingdom. Okay, hence the kinglet. Now, the kinglet of Monaco survives on taxes from tobacco, wine, and spirits, but his main source of income is a gaming house. Okay, where this game called roulette is played. You can see in the previous slide. This is roulette class. So it's even now played in casinos. So there is a ball, okay, and the spinning wheel, it will be spun. You have to put your bet on a color or a number. Okay, so there will be red and black, only two colors, and there will be numbers. So you can place your bet, whichever color or number the ball falls in. Coincidentally, if you put your bet on that, you will get your money. So that is how roulette is played. Even today in many casinos around the world, roulette is played. So the king's main revenue was from the gaming house. Okay, where a roulette was being played. So the kinglet, yeah. So he knows gambling is dirty. So gambling is dirty. It is how do you say? It kind of corrupts people. Okay, corrupt people become, how do you say? People lose their money. They end up killing themselves. Okay, it corrupts the society. And the kinglet, as the writer says, is aware of this. Yet there is nobody to stop the kinglet. Okay, because he is the ruler of this kingdom. Who is above him? Who is going to stop him? And moreover, there is no other stable source of revenue. So in order to get revenue to run his kingdom, okay, the king needed his kingdom to be conducted in all his proceedings to be conducted in all royalty. Okay, now although he's the king of a very small kingdom, when he sees the king of the neighboring kingdom, he's like, oh, I also need to live a lavish life like that king. But to live a lavish life like a king, he needs revenue, and that is why this gaming house. So he knows gambling is dirty, but he needs the money to keep up his royal lifestyle. The incident. So one fine day, a very particular, a very unusual incident happens in Monaco. It is a murder. Okay, so murder was something that has never happened before in Monaco. The first time a man kills somebody else. Okay, a murder occurs. This is a shock because the people of Monaco are usually peaceable. The murderer is caught and, following the laws of big countries, is sentenced to death. Phase 2. The logistics of death. This is where the satire begins. The king and his ministers realize they have a fancy law, but no fancy tools. So the guillotine search. So guillotine, people who've learned French, the French Revolution in history will know. Guillotine was an instrument that was used to cut the heads. So here, the king did not have a guillotine. And this prisoner, this murderer had committed a murder, and he was sentenced to death penalty. Unfortunately, there was no instrument, as in the guillotine, to conduct the proceedings. So what did the king and his ministers do? So the guillotine search. Monaco has no executioner and no guillotine. They write to the French government. Okay, so they write to the French government. They request French government has so many guillotines with them. So if you have one guillotine to spare, please give it to us, and please tell us what is the amount that we need to pay. So the French government offers to lend them a machine and an expert for 16,000 francs. Now 16,000 francs, the French government is ready to give the guillotine. But it's very expensive. It's a lot of money. And if he needs to collect 16,000 francs, he has to charge more than 2 francs per person in Monaco. Why? Because the population of Monaco is just 7,000, we just learned. So will the people agree to this? They're already paying taxes. Tomorrow if the king comes and tells, pay us 3 francs more so that we can buy a guillotine just to cut one man's head, okay, the people are going to be very angry. So yeah, so the budget crisis. The king calculates that 16,000 francs would mean an extra tax of 2 francs. He decides the murder is not worth the money. So the French communications with France is lost. Now he thinks of the next neighbor, Italy. Okay, so he talks to Italy. Now France at the time is a republic, a democracy. Like our country, France is a democracy. So the king feels that these guys are democratic, so they don't know how to respect the king. So why not write to Italy? Italy is also a brother monarch. Brother monarch meaning he's also a king like me. So because he's also a king like me, he will respect me, he will respect my sentiments, unlike the French people. So our king of Monaco writes to Italy. So let's see what Italy has to say. The Italian alternative. They ask the king of Italy. Italy, a brother monarch, offers a discounted price. Okay, they do not charge as much as France, but still they charge a very expensive amount. It's 12,000 francs. And with 12,000 francs, they'll give one executioner also. But still, can Monaco afford it? No, they cannot. Okay, this would still mean he has to collect almost 2 francs per person, which is too much. Again, people will riot. People will cause a big problem. Okay, so still the kinglet refuses. He doesn't want to start a riot over taxes just to kill one man. Yeah, phase 3. The cheap alternative. So now he realizes that buying a guillotine is almost impossible. So he looks for cheap, cost-effective alternatives. So since they can't kill him, they decide to lock him up for life. This way they look merciful. So in between, what the king decides is, okay, let me ask one of my generals. Okay, he calls his general and he asks the general, can you it's a cheap, you can just take a knife and cut his head. It's a very cheap alternative. It would not cost anything. The general is like, no sir, I cannot do it. Okay, and general goes to his army man, the big army of 60 people. So none of the people can. They are like, sir, if it's in war, we'll cut heads. But now if you ask, we can't. So they also back off. Now the king decides, okay, so let us, let us change death penalty to life imprisonment. Okay, this way the others will think that the king is very merciful. In reality, they have no alternative. So the cheap alternative, since they can't kill him, they decide to lock him up for life. This way they look merciful while saving money. So despite locking him up for life imprisonment, there is a new problem now. Okay, what is this new problem? Monaco has no strong prison suitable for a long-term stay. They find a small lockup and hire a guard to watch the prisoner and fetch his food from the palace kitchens. Okay, so this goes on. There is no prison, so he's put on house arrest, and the guard is kept outside. And the guard fetches food from palace kitchen, meaning the same food that the king is eating, the prisoner is also eating. So after 1 year, the king does an audit. What is an audit? A check or looking through of the expenses. Okay, the income and expenditure. So that is auditing. So the yearly audit. After a year, the king looks at the accounts. Between the guard's wages and the food, the prisoner is costing 600 francs a year. So once the yearly audit is done, they realize that an extra 600 francs go about on the upkeep of the prisoner. So 600 francs a year extra. So it's a lot of money. So the king realizes that this man is young and might live another 50 years. Now we say, we wish other people, right, long live. So that's how we wish people. But it's one of those few instances where the king wishes upon this prisoner, please don't live long enough. Okay. Why? Because every year he lives, it's more expense for the king. So he's a very young, fit as a fiddle. a very young, healthy man. He would go on to live for another 50 years. So 600 francs every year for another 50 years. That's a lot of money. Phase 4. So they attempted escape. The ministers decide to fire the guard to save the money, hoping the prisoner will simply run away. Okay, so they fire the guard. So there's no guard to guard the gates. Did the prisoner run away? No. So the reality check. At dinner time, the prisoner sees there is no guard. Instead of running, he walks to the palace kitchen himself, takes his food and goes back to his cell, locking himself in. Okay, now the king and the ministers are very angry. This fellow won't run away. Okay, he himself goes and fetches the food. So the confrontation. When they asked why he won't leave, the prisoner gives a logical, devastating argument. He says, what does he say? He says, you ruined my character with your sentence. So now to the outside world, I am a murderer. Will I get a job? No. People will turn their backs on me. So this is the excuse he gives. So they ruined his character with a death sentence. So no one will hire him. He has got out of the way of working. The state treated him badly by not executing him when they said they would. So now the state owes him a living. So finally, so they come to a conclusion, they come to a compromise. Okay. Phase 5, the final settlement. The only way to get rid of the man is to pay him to live. The pension. Okay. So he asks for a pension. The council agrees to pay him an annual pension of 600 francs. Okay. Annual pension of 600 francs. And the prisoner receives an advance. Okay. The prisoner receives, I think, 1/3 of the annuity. So 200 francs was given to him, so he can simply leave. And then they come to an agreement that you will be given an yearly pension. So he leaves the kingdom. He buys a bit of land just across the border and starts a small market garden. He returns to Monaco every month to collect his pension, gambles a few francs at the tables, and lives comfortably and peaceably. So the prisoner had the last laugh here, right? So walks away with a lifetime pension. Normally, who gets a pension? People with meritorious service, like government employees, soldiers. Okay. In this story, the murderer walks away with a pension. So we can say that the murderer had the last laugh. So the final lesson. The story concludes with a biting observation that it's a good thing the crime didn't happen in a country where they don't care about expenses. Because in Monaco, the murderer actually ended up with a better life than the honest taxpayers. So Tolstoy is being sarcastic here. He's like, see, if it was in any other kingdom, you would be punished for what you did. In here, however, the poor taxpayers in Monaco will have to indirectly pay this murderer's pension. So the key takeaway, Tolstoy is arguing that the state institutions like the army and the law are often just expensive, absurd performances. When the performance gets too expensive, the government is forced to show its true face. A business that cares more about money than justice. So that is how Monaco is being presented. Okay, moving on to the next lesson. So the next is a poem, chapter 3, On Children by Khalil Gibran, a very meaningful poem that resonates even today. Okay, an advice to the parents more than the children. So On Children by Khalil Gibran. Okay, chapter 3, On Children. So what does the poem On Children talk about? The concept of ownership. Gibran begins with a startling truth. Your children are not your children. Very famous lines. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. For they come through you, but not from you. So very meaningful lines. What do those lines mean? Okay. Your children are not your children, meaning you do not own your children. Okay. Do not stake ownership on your children. This is a very meaningful advice to parents even in the 21st century. So he explains that while children come through you, they do not belong to you. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. So the lesson, parents should provide love, but they must not impose their own thoughts or identities onto their children. Next, the focus on the future. Gibran emphasizes that children live in the house of tomorrow, a place parents cannot visit, even in their dreams. So the lesson, parents should not try to make their children like them. Okay, life moves forward, not backward. Life moves forward, not backward, meaning the succeeding generations, the succeeding generations, okay? The younger generations will get to see the future, okay? The older generations will not. So it goes on. It's like a cycle. Now, our parents cannot see the future that we are seeing, and our children will see the future that we won't see. So life always it does not tarry with yesterday. Okay, it always moves forward. So it's trying to mold a child into a mini version of a parent is a disservice to the child's unique destiny. So parents should not try to make the child a mini version of them. Okay, they should not mold the child to be like them. Every child has his or her own identity. The child will eventually grow up to get that their own identity. So parents should not mold them to be like them. So the metaphor of the archer. So the last stanza is very meaningful. One of the most famous metaphors in literature appears at the end of the poem. So the bow. So the bow is the parents, stable, supporting, and providing the initial force. The arrow. The arrow is the children, dynamic, living, and heading towards a target in the distance. The archer is God. God or life, providence. So the force that aims the arrow. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he also loves the bow that is stable. So parents should be like bow, okay? And children are the arrow. Okay, if the archer simply throws the arrow, how far can it go? It can go only say a very little distance. Suppose you use a bow, okay? The bow can magnify or increase the distance that the arrow would reach manyfold. So parents play the role of the bow. They should make sure that the child reaches its full potential. Okay, with that. Okay, chapter 4. Everything I need to know, I learned in the forest. Okay. So Vandana Shiva's lesson. Vandana Shiva is a very famous eco-feminist. So Vandana Shiva was deeply influenced by the Chipko movement. Of course, her father was a forest conservator. Okay. And Vandana Shiva initially started off her journey by actively participating in the Chipko movement. So you all know Chipko movement. You've learned it in school, right? Women were hugging trees to protect them from being felled. So Chipko movement is a very important moment. That is how Vandana Shiva started her journey. So Vandana Shiva is an internationally renowned activist for biodiversity and against corporate globalization. In the essay, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest, she explains about her early lessons of environmentalism. She also tells us how she learned the ideals of a good life from the forests, such as diversity, freedom, and coexistence. Vandana Shiva's ecological journey started in the forests of the Himalayas. Her involvement in the contemporary ecology movement began with Chipko. Chipko movement, it was a non-violent response to the large-scale deforestation in the Himalayan region. In the 1970s, peasant women in the Garhwal Himalaya had come out in defense of the forest. So in the lesson, we also learn about a certain Bachni Devi. Who is Bachni Devi? When her own husband is a contractor. He got the contract to cut trees. So what did Bachni Devi do? She herself opposed her husband. Okay. She gathered a group of women and they protected the trees. They hugged the trees. Okay. She was ready to stand up against her own husband to protect trees from being felled. So Bachni Devi's example is also told in this lesson. So a very important part of this lesson is Vandana Shiva's initiative to start a biodiversity farm. Biodiversity farm called the Navdanya farm. So biodiversity. So Navdanya farm. The Navdanya movement, Chipko movement taught Vandana Shiva biodiversity. She realized the importance of biodiversity-based living economies. Hence, she started Navdanya, a movement for biodiversity conservation and organic farming in 1987. Vandana Shiva has worked with farmers to set up more than 100 community seed banks across India. They have saved more than 3,000 varieties. This is a transition from monoculture to biodiverse ecological system. So what is monoculture class? One culture. Mono is one culture. So in corporate farming, if you see, large areas of land, the corporates cultivate only one crop. So Vandana Shiva believes that this destroys biodiversity. So if we see our Indian farmers, our farming is a lot, I would say it's biodiversity friendly, you can say. In a small piece of land, we cultivate a lot of crops, a lot of species of flora is a lot of species of plants is cultivated. So we are a very biodiverse friendly agriculture. But we learned from the West eventually about monoculture. So Vandana Shiva greatly opposes that. Another important thing that is said in the fourth chapter is seed banks. Yeah, seed bank is another important thing that is discussed here. Yeah, so dried seeds are stored in airtight containers, right? And they're stored in huge rooms, airtight rooms. So that is seed bank. So that is one important part of this lesson. Another thing is how the constitutions of Bolivia and Ecuador, okay, Bolivia and Ecuador, they adopted biodiversity into their constitution. So how Bolivia and Ecuador, they understood the importance of biodiversity and how they adopted that into their constitution. It's very important. And yeah, next is about Rabindranath Tagore's Tapovan. Rabindranath Tagore wrote an essay, Tapovan. Tapovan is also very important. What is Tapovan? So Rabindranath Tagore wrote an essay, Tapovan, about the forest of purity. Okay, in that he talks about biodiversity and he compares our society to our forests. Now, if you see the Indian society is the best example of diversity. We learn in social. Our society is unity in diversity. Why is our society unity in diversity? Because we have n number of cultures, n number of religions, n number of languages, people of different religions, languages, races, all living together in harmony. So India is a unity in diversity. So the same way, the forests are also a unity in diversity. It's biodiverse. So that is what Rabindranath Tagore tries to convey through his essay, Tapovan. So these are the other important things in the lesson. Everything I need to know, I learned in the forest. So the next, last chapter in the literature portion is A Sunny Morning, the play. A Sunny Morning by Hoken and Serafin Quintero. The very meaningful, very light-hearted. Okay, it's a love story, we can say. Okay, moving on. Chapter 5, A Sunny Morning. So what is the plot summary? The story takes place on a beautiful morning in a quiet corner of a park. So the meeting. Donna Laura, a sharp-witted elderly woman, is feeding breadcrumbs to pigeons. Her peace is interrupted by Don Gonzalo, an old grumpy gentleman. So we have two main characters, Donna Laura, a woman in the 70s, and Don Gonzalo, a man in his 70s. So their first meeting in the park is not a very friendly meeting. They do not like each other. Okay, they do not like each other's attitude. So Don Gonzalo, a grumpy old gentleman who arrives and scares the birds away. They initially bicker and trade insults. The discovery. As they share a pinch of snuff. So in those days, there was an indulgent called the snuff. It's a tobacco powder. Okay. So Don Gonzalo takes some tobacco powder and he snorts it. And then he gives a little to Donna Laura also. So the ice between them is broken. Okay. So to settle their nerves, they begin to talk about their past. So once the snuff is shared, they become friends. Okay. They slowly realize that they were once young lovers in Valencia. The silver maiden and the dashing gallant horseman. Okay. Gallant horseman. So the deception. Instead of admitting their true identities, both characters lie. They are too proud to show how they have aged or changed. So as they discuss, both Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura realize that they are from the same city, Valencia. Okay. And they have the same story also. They are part of the same story. Don Gonzalo used to like this woman. Her name was Laura Lorente. And coincidentally, this Laura Lorente is the Donna Laura that we're talking about. Laura Lorente was also called another name. That is the Silver Maiden. Right? Yeah. The Silver Maiden was how she was known. And our Don Gonzalo was called the Gallant Horseman. So they do not admit that it is them. They lie to each other. What does Don Gonzalo say? He says, my cousin is the Gallant Horseman. And Donna Laura says her friend is Laura Lorente. Why do they do that? Because they are old. So they're very old. They feel they are not as good looking as they were in their youth. So they feel, okay, the other person, he had or she had a great impression on me. So I don't want to destroy that impression. So they lie to the other person. So both know the other is lying, and yeah, Gonzalo claims he's a cousin of the real Gonzalo and tells a tall tale about how he died a hero's death in the war. He says Don Gonzalo, after he ran away from the city of Valencia, he gets drafted into the army, the Spanish army. And then, as he holds the flag of Spain, he mutters the name of his lover, Donna Laura, Laura Lorente, before dying. In reality, it's a lie. It's a blatant lie because Don Gonzalo is there right in front of her. Okay, he's glorifying his own death. So Laura claims she was a close friend of the real Laura and describes how she died tragically on the beach with her lover's name on her lips. The conclusion: both know the other is lying and both realize who the other truly is. However, they choose to preserve the beautiful memories of their youth rather than face the reality of their old age. They agree to meet again in the next morning. The humor comes from the dramatic irony. What is dramatic irony? Dramatic irony is when the audience or the viewer knows what the twist is, but the characters within the story do not. Okay, so here we can say a very good dramatic irony. The audience know they have recognized each other, but we watch them spin elaborate lies to stay young in each other's eyes. So that is dramatic irony. Yeah. So moving on. With that, we finished the literature part. Okay. So moving on to the grammar part. So grammar again for this internal, you have most of what you've learned in PU1 only. So we'll cover all that quickly. Chapter 1, articles. Okay. So articles are divided into definite and indefinite articles. Articles in English grammar, okay, function like adjectives to point out whether a noun is a specific or whether noun is specific or general. So here's a quick 5-point summary. Two main types. Articles are split into definite, the and indefinite, a and an. So a versus an. So based on sound. So where do you use the article a and where do you use an? So it's based on sound. Maybe in school you've learned that you should use a before consonants and an before vowels. It's not the letters that matter, it is the sound. Okay, so we'll get to that. A is used before consonant sound. An is used before vowel sound. So use a before singular noun starting with the consonant sound. Example, European. Okay, when you say European, although the word starts with E and U, both being vowels, it makes a y sound. Okay, this makes a y sound. Y is a consonant sound. European. There is also another word, university. You don't say an university, you say a university. Okay, so university is another example. A European, a university. Okay, a cat. And an before a vowel sound. Example, an hour. Okay, an hour. Here, hour you can see H is silent. Okay, it makes the O sound. An hour. An hour. An honest man. So H is silent. So you use the articles based on the sounds they make. Okay. So specific versus general. The refers to a specific, unique, or previously mentioned item. So the is a definite article. When you want to specify something, now he is the best. He is the most intelligent person. Superlative. We use the. Because there is nobody like him or her. She is the most intelligent person I have seen. He is the fastest runner among our group. So the, meaning there is only one. Okay, definite. Specific versus general. Yeah, the refers to a specific, unique, or previously mentioned item. Countable versus uncountable. Indefinite articles a and an can only be used with singular countable nouns. Okay, so you never use them with plural or uncountable nouns. Example, you do not say a water. Okay, you do not use a water. That is grammatically wrong. So anything that is countable, an apple, okay, a cat, it is singular and countable. You do not say a water or a milk. You say a glass of milk because there is a definite measurement. So zero article rule. No article is used when talking about plural or uncountable nouns. You do not say apples. Okay, that's plural and it's grammatically wrong. Or before proper nouns like names. Most countries and languages. Example, gold is valuable. You do not say a gold. Also languages. You do not say she speaks a French. Okay. And also you do not say you are a free. You say you are free. She speaks French. Now examples. I saw a dog running down the street. Indefinite article introduces a generic non-specific dog for the first time. So I saw a dog. In that sentence, we do not know the dog. So a dog is being introduced for the first time. Now suppose I use I saw the dog. Okay, I have seen this dog previously. I'm mentioning a particular dog. So she bought an umbrella because it started raining. It refers to any umbrella, indefinite article. So please hand me the book sitting on your desk. The book. So you're specifying, give me that specific book. There could be so many books there. Please hand me the book. You're specifying. Okay, moving on. So the questions, grammar questions. So he is dash honest man. What answer would be coming in? As I said earlier, you use the sound. Okay, you use the article based on the sound that the word makes. Yeah. So here, honest H is silent. He is an honest man is correct. He is an honest man. He is dash MLA. Is it an MLA or is it a MLA? He is an MLA is correct. Why is it an MLA? Despite M being a consonant, you still use an. Why? Because as I said, it is a sound. Okay, when you say MLA, M, it is a sound comes first. MLA. Okay, that is why he is an MLA. He is an MP. On the contrary, if I am expanding MLA, if I say member of Legislative Assembly, okay, same sentence. I'm just expanding the abbreviation. He is a member of the Legislative Assembly. A member. It makes a consonant sound. M. When I say M, MLA, a is the first sound that comes. So it is a vowel. Lionel Messi is dash greatest of all time. It is a superlative, greatest. So there can only be one greatest. There is nobody near to Lionel Messi. So Lionel Messi is the greatest of all time. Lionel Messi is the greatest of all time because there is only one greatest, one GOAT. So Lionel Messi is the GOAT. Moving on, chapter 2, preposition. Prepositions are short connecting words that show how nouns or pronouns relate to other words in a sentence. Simple, you've learned, it talks about position, right? It not just talks about position, it sometimes, it is in general talking about the relation of the noun or the pronoun with the rest of the sentence. That is preposition. So, primary function. Prepositions establish relationships in time, place, direction, space, or logical connection between a noun, pronoun, and the rest of the sentence. Now, the prepositional object. A preposition is almost always followed by a noun, pronoun, or noun phrase, known as the object of the preposition. So, moving on, the core trio. Here, this is the preposition of time, at, on, in. Most of the time, we use at, on, in as the preposition of time. Preposition of time. Okay. So when exactly do we use at, on, in? Many of you are confused. Okay, we'll find out. At specific date or precise location. At 5 p.m. At the door. Okay. Specific time. Okay, not date. Specific time. On. When is on used? On is used for days, dates, or surface. On Monday. On the table. For days. Okay, we use on. In. When is in used? Enclosed spaces, months, year, or when you do not know the exact, okay, this one location, we say in. In enclosed spaces, months, years, or large areas. So in July, in the room. So direction, movement. Words like to, into, onto, through, and toward indicate motion towards a destination or path. Space and position. Words like under, over, behind, between, beside, and above describe where something is located relative to something else. Compound preposition. Prepositions can exist of multiple words functioning as a single unit. In front of. Yeah, this is one example, a very good example. Okay, so 3 words are there. That is one preposition. According to, because of, next to. Okay, these are all examples of, these are all prepositions only. Not preposition need not be one word. Okay, 3 words also can be a preposition. In front of is a very good example. Fixed prepositions. Certain verbs, adjectives, and nouns always pair with specific preposition. Example, depend on, famous for, interested in. never stand alone. A standard preposition cannot exist without its object. If it doesn't have an object, it's usually acting as an adverb. Okay. Look outside. Look outside, the phrase is a adverb. Okay. Look outside the window becomes a preposition. So in preposition, there should always be an object, something that is receiving. Okay. If it does not have something that is receiving, it is not a preposition. It becomes an adverb. So here are the examples. We are meeting at 4 p.m. in the main lobby. So at 4 p.m. as I said earlier, time. Okay. So exact time. We are meeting at 4 p.m. in the main lobby. The cat jumped onto the kitchen counter. So the movement. Okay. Cat jumped onto. So when we say onto, we know the cat is jumping from ground to the kitchen counter. So onto is another preposition of movement. He swam across the river. Across is another example for a preposition of movement. Now when we say across, he swam across the river. Okay, it's a movement. Moving on. She placed her phone under the pillow before sleeping. That is preposition of place. The meeting was cancelled because of the unexpected storm. Because of. Here it's compound. Okay. He is sitting in front of me. In front of is another preposition. That is an example for compound preposition. So here are the questions. The conference starts dash 10 a.m. So what would come? What is the three prepositions of time we learned? At, on, in. At, on, in are what are the prepositions that will be coming in the exam. So at, on, in. The conference starts at 10 a.m. Okay. Charan prefers coffee dash tea. I think two prepositions will come here. Either of the two are fine. One is coffee to tea. You can write Charan prefers coffee to tea. You can also write Charan prefers coffee over tea. Okay, both are correct. Charan prefers coffee to tea. Charan prefers coffee over tea is also fine. Both are correct. Okay. Yeah, one more thing. For and since. When do we use for and since? When do we use for and since? So, Ramesh has been sleeping. Dash 2 hours. The same sentence, Ramesh has been sleeping. Dash 10 a.m. So you have two sentences. It's the same sentence. I just made a small alteration. Ramesh has been sleeping dash 2 hours and Ramesh has been sleeping dash 10 a.m. So when do we use for? When do we use since? Of course, in both the blanks, you can use only either of the two. And you use either of the two. So where do you use for and where do you use since? If you have listened, if you have listened to the previous classes, okay, first PU lectures, you will know I've explained for and since for you guys. When is for used? Ramesh has been sleeping for 2 hours is correct. Okay. And Ramesh has been sleeping since 10 a.m. So when is for used? When is since used? When you talk about the duration of the time, okay, the duration, that is when for is used. I mean, the first sentence, we know the duration. Okay. In the first sentence, we know the duration. So for is used. Okay. When is since used? Since is used when the exact point of time in which the action is started is mentioned. Now, Raymond, since 1980, they say. Okay. So exact time in which Raymond was started. Okay. Or if it was 80 years, it would be Raymond for 80 years. So the duration, if duration of time is given, you use for. If the exact point of time in which the action started is given, it is since. Okay. Moving on. Subject verb agreement. Subject verb agreement is also called concord. Subject verb concord. Right. Subject verb agreement simply means that a subject and its verb must agree in number. Okay. Subject and verb, the basic components for a sentence to exist. A singular subject takes a singular verb. The most important rule is a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb. That's the most important rule. Yeah, Yeah. So a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb. This is the most important rule that should be kept in mind when when answering the subject verb agreement questions. Okay. So here is a breakdown of the 8 essential rules. Basic number matching. So singular subjects take a singular verb, usually ending in S in the present tense. Verbs that end in the S is singular. Okay. Eats. Eats is singular. Eat is plural. Okay. Eats is singular. Eat is plural. However, this applies only in third person. What is third person? First person, second person, third person, right? In Kannada, Uttam Purusha, Madhyam Purusha, Anya Purusha. Hindi, Uttam Purush, Madhyam Purush, Anya Purush. That is first person, second person, third person. So what is first person when you talk about yourself? I, we, me. Okay, me becomes the object. I and we. That is first person. Okay. Second person is you when you're talking to somebody. Now I am talking to you. So you are the second person. You is a second person. Third person. When both of us are talking about a third person. He, she, it. That is third person. So this rule applies to first person. Now you say he eats, right? He eats because he is singular. They eat. They is plural. But in first person, you do not say you eats. So I mean I eats. You say I eat. So this rule applies to third person. Okay. So while plural subjects take plural verbs without S. Example, the dog barks at night, but the dogs bark all day. So dog barks, singular subject, singular verb. Dogs bark. So plural subject, plural verb. Now compound subject. Compound subject, two subjects joined by and or also. So joined by and. When two or more subjects are connected by and, they almost always take a plural verb. Example, Tom and Jerry are continuous rivals. Tom and Jerry, you're talking about two subjects here. So when and is used, most of the time it's a plural verb. Tom and Jerry are. Are is the plural verb here. Subjects joined by or. Okay, or, neither, nor, etc. The verb agrees with the subject next to it. Okay. So when subjects are connected by or, neither, nor, either, or, the verb agrees with the closest subject. So what does that rule mean? Neither the teacher nor the students were prepared. Now in this sentence we have two subjects, the teacher, the students. Okay. Neither the teacher nor the students. So which is the verb which is the subject that is closest to the verb? This is the verb, right? So which is the subject that is closest to the verb? This is the subject that is closest to the verb. So is the second subject singular or plural? The students. The students is plural. So since the subject is plural, the verb will also be plural. Okay. So neither the teacher nor the students were prepared. Now if I interchange their order, neither the students nor the teacher. Suppose I interchange, what would happen? Neither the students nor the teacher was prepared is correct. Yeah, neither the students nor the teacher was prepared for the surprise quiz is correct. Moving on, intervening expression. Phrases like along with, as well as, together with, or prepositional phrases coming between the subject and verb do not change the subject's number. For example, when you use these words, along with, as well as, together with, etc., the verb agrees only with the subject that is used before this word. Now, the principal along with. Okay. Now, after along with, I may use many subjects like the principal along with the teachers. So, whatever subject comes after along with does not matter. The verb agrees only with the subject that is used before it. Okay. So, phrases like along with, as well as, together with, or prepositional phrases like coming between the subject and verb do not change the subject's number. Ignore them when picking your verb. Example, the captain as well as. So here as well as is used. So when as well as is used, whatever subject comes after it does not matter. The verb only agrees with this. Okay. Verb only agrees with this. This applies to along with, together with, as well as. Okay. All these. So the captain as well as his crew members was awarded a medal. Indefinite pronouns. Always singular. Okay. Everyone, somebody, nobody, everything, something, nothing. These are all indefinite pronouns. Okay. So indefinite pronouns should be considered singular. Okay. So everything is everything is temporary, we say. We do not say everything are temporary. Example, everyone has a role to play in the community project. Now, collective nouns. Collective nouns that name a group. Example, team, family, jury. So, take a singular verb when acting as a singular unit. But they also take a plural verb if the members act as separate individual. For example, the committee has reached its final decision. Now, in this sentence, the committee is working together. Okay, the committee is working together. Now, the committee members are fighting with each other. Are fighting. Why? Because they are not one collective. They are fighting against each other. So, they are not playing together. So, the committee has reached its final decision. The entire group is working together. Okay, if they are not working together, there is no unity. Then you use a plural verb. Now, inverted sentence. There, here. When a sentence starts with there or here, the true subject comes after the verb. Example, there are 3 distinct options available on the menu. Yeah, distance, money, time, and quantities. Expressions of specific amounts, periods of time, distance, or sum of money. So, if there is a quantity like units and measurements, a definite quantity is given, it is always singular. Okay, $50 is too much to pay for a simple t-shirt. $50 is a definite amount. 10 liters is a lot of milk. It's a definite number. Okay, moving on. Questions. Yeah. Mathematics dash my favorite subject. What would come? Mathematics dash my favorite subject. Mathematics is my favorite subject is correct. Mathematics is my favorite subject. Okay. Neither the teacher nor the students. We just learned this rule. Neither the teacher nor the students. So the first subject is singular, but that does not matter. The second subject is closer to the verb. So what would come here? Are. Neither the teacher nor the students are present. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Question tags. Very important. Question tags or tag questions are short questions added to the end of a statement to confirm information or seek agreement. Here are the 5 core rules to master them. Okay. Opposites attract. Positive statement. Okay. Positives, if the sentence is positive, the question tag will be negative. On the contrary, if the sentence is negative, like she is never present, okay, that is a negative sentence, then the question tag would be positive. So opposite charges attract, we say, right? As in science. In English also, this is the same thing. If the sentence is positive, question tag is negative. If the sentence is negative, question tag is positive. Opposites attract. Keep this in mind. Okay. So if the main statement is positive, the tag question must be negative. Example, she is a doctor. Isn't she? She is a doctor is a positive sentence. Now, how can I make it a negative sentence? She is not a doctor. If I use not, it becomes a negative sentence. She is not a doctor. That is a negative sentence. So what would the question tag be? Is she? Okay. So here, she is a doctor, isn't she? Okay. That is a positive sentence. They liked the movie. They liked the movie is a positive sentence. What would the question tag be? Didn't they? Okay, because it's plural. Didn't they? And it's given in the simple past. So you use the do verb. And simple past you use the do verb. Now negatives match positive. Negative statement, positive tag, as I said. If the main statement is negative or contains negative words like never, barely, or hardly, the tag question must be positive. Example, you haven't finished yet, have you? He never complains, does he? These are negative sentences. Similarly, barely, hardly. You hardly come to class. Okay, a teacher would be scolding a student. You hardly come to class. What would be the question tag? Do you? Okay, because he rarely comes to class. You hardly come to class. Do you? Okay, you rarely write the exam. Do you? Okay, it's not don't you. Rarely, etc. Use the positive question tag. So you haven't finished yet, have you? He never complains, does he? Match the auxiliary helping verb. So that's another thing, identifying the helping verb. Sometimes in the sentence you have the main verb and the helping verb. So the tag always uses the same auxiliary verb. Is, are, have, can, will. Okay. So if these are some of the examples of helping verb. So if you have a helping verb in your sentence, your question tag will obviously have the helping verb. So, and the tense also as the main sentence. If there is no auxiliary verb, use a form of do, does, did, as I told you earlier. If helping verb is not there, you use the do verb. If there is only one main verb in the sentence, then you use the do verb. Example with auxiliary. You can swim. Okay. Here the helping verb is can, because the main verb we already know is swim. So can is the helping verb. So can't you? Okay. You can swim, can't you? Example, simple present. So in the next sentence, you have no auxiliary. You live here. You live here. Okay. So there is no helping verb. Okay. You live here, don't you? Okay. Now suppose I change the tense to simple past. You lived here. Okay. You lived here would be didn't you? Didn't is used for past. Now example, simple past again. He left early, didn't he? Okay. Now for singular and plural, you use did, didn't only. Okay. Yeah. Always use subject pronouns in the tag. The subject of the tag must always be a personal pronoun. He, she, it, they, we, you, I. Even if the main sentence uses a proper noun or noun phrase. Example, Sarah and John arrived on time, didn't they? So that's in the past. Simple past. Example, the weather is nice today, isn't it? So is, you have the helping verb here. Yeah, now watch out. Now here in this sentence, Sarah and John, okay, you have two subjects. You do not use isn't Sarah or isn't John. You use isn't they because two subjects are given. Now if it's only Sarah, use isn't she. It's always pronouns in the question tag. Keep that in mind. Watch out for common exceptions. A few special structures break the standard pattern. For example, if I am is given in your sentence, I told this to my students. If I am is given in your sentence, the question tag would be aren't I. Okay. I am innocent, aren't I? Okay. Or I am an English teacher, aren't I? Okay. So I am is always with aren't I. You do not say ain't. It's aren't. I am late, aren't I? Now imperatives. Requests usually use will you. Now if you are requesting, okay, close the door, will you? Okay, open the book, will you? Imperative means giving an instruction. Example, pass me the salt, will you? Let's becomes shall we? Example, let's take a break. Let's take a break, shall we? Okay, so if let's is used, it's a request. So it will be shall we, the question tag. Moving on. The auxiliary verb do, including does and did, acts as a structural placeholder when asking questions in English. Here are three main rules for using it. Now moving on to the do verb. Okay. So another question that you will have is a sentence will be given. You have to rewrite the sentence into the question using the do verb. Simple present. Use do or does. Use do for I, you, we, they, and does for third person, singular. Okay. Does is for third person, singular. He, she, it, etc. It will be does. The main verb following do does always stays in its base form. Example, do you like coffee? Does she work on weekends? So you always have the main verb in these sentences, okay? But they will always be in the base form, okay? So does she work on weekends? Now simple past. Use did for all subjects in the past tense. Regardless of whether your subject is singular or plural, you always use did. Use did regardless of the subject, pronoun, or noun. Just like with the present tense, the main verb reverts to its base infinitive form, not the past form. Example, did they finish the project yesterday? Not did they finished. Okay, did they finish is enough. As I said earlier, this reverts, so you don't need to change this. It always is written in its base form. Example, did he call you last night? You don't say did he called you. Okay. Skip do when who, what is the subject. Now the WH question. If you have WH question, who, what, which, where, when, how, these are WH questions. If WH questions are used, you do not use do. The subject of the sentence performing the action. However, if the question word is the object, you must use do. Example, subject question, no, do. Who wrote this book? Who wrote this book? Who performed the writing? Example, object question uses do. Who did you call? So you performed the calling. So who is the subject? Now if a sentence already has an auxiliary verb, keep this in mind. If the sentence already has an auxiliary verb like is, are, can, will, have, you don't need to you don't need do at all. Okay. If the sentence does not have a helping verb, then you use the do verb, just like in question tag. So example, are you coming? Can she drive? So here you have the helping verb and the main verb. So you don't need to use the do verb. So moving on to the question. Okay. So you have a car, you have eaten. Both sentences use have. Okay. But the question tags are different. What are the question tags? You have a car. Don't you is correct. You have eaten. Haven't you is correct. Why is there a difference? You have a car. So in this sentence, do we have a helping verb? Do we have a helping verb here? No. Have is the only verb. Have is the main verb. Okay. You have eaten. In this sentence, have is the helping verb. So what did we learn? If there is helping verb in the sentence, that helping verb will be in the question tag. The helping verb and the pronoun. So haven't you, the negative. He eats lunch. So now you have to rewrite this sentence. He eats lunch into a question using the do verb. Okay, he eats lunch. So how do you write? He eats lunch. Keep the tense in mind. Does he eat? Okay, why eat? Because when you use the do verb, the main verb reverts back to its base form. Okay, does he eat lunch is correct. Okay, does he eat lunch is correct. Does he eat lunch? So when you use a do verb, the main verb reverts back to the original form. Moving on. Next is chapter 5, word order. Word order in English dictates how words are arranged to build clear, grammatically correct sentence. I'm not going to give you examples because word order is very easy for you guys, I know. Grammatically correct sentence. Here are the 3 foundation rules to know. Standard sentence structure follows subject, verb, object rule. Okay. So, you know, subject, then verb, then object. Okay. So, English is strictly a subject, verb, object language. The subject performing the action comes first, followed by the action. So, you always, most of the time, sentence is written the active form only. Okay. Now, and finally, the recipient of the action comes. For example, the author in that sentence is the subject. The author wrote a captivating novel. Okay, the author wrote a captivating novel. Incorrect would be wrote the author a captivating novel. It's wrong. The author is the subject. Wrote becomes the verb, and a captivating novel is the subject. He punched a pillow. Okay, he punched a pillow. So he is the subject. Punched is the verb. Pillow is the object. It's a very simple sentence to understand. So he punched the pillow. Keep this rule in mind. Subject, verb, object. Second, adjectives and adverbs. Adjectives and adverbs have fixed positions. Modifiers must be placed next to the words. They modify to avoid confusion. Adjectives go before the noun. So you guys know. Adjectives go before the noun. They modify the noun. Adverbs go before the verb. So keep this also in mind when you're rewriting the jumbled sentence. Example, a brilliant scientist. So see, the article comes before the adjective here. A brilliant scientist. So this is the order. Adverbs of frequency. Example, always, never, often. They sit before the main verb, but after auxiliary verbs. For example, or to be. Example, she always arrives early. So here, always. Okay. It comes before the, it sits before the main verb. He is never late. In this case, is the helping verb. Okay. But never comes after is. So these words, always, never, often, they come after the helping verb, but before the main verb. Keep that also in mind. Now, place and time follow. MPT, manner, place, time. This is another thing we should keep in mind. When adding details to a sentence, the standard order of adverbs, prepositional phrase is how, where, when. So, manner, place, time. So, this is the standard order of a sentence. Manner, place, time. For example, they played enthusiastically. So, they played enthusiastically. So, enthusiastically is the manner, like in how they played. So, that comes after. Okay. So, manner, they played enthusiastically. So, manner comes first. They at the stadium yesterday afternoon. So, they played enthusiastically. Manner comes first, followed by the place. At the stadium yesterday afternoon. Time comes towards the end. Okay. Like in the night, at the morning. He arrived at the party in the night. Okay. He went to London in the morning. So, time comes only towards the end. This also you should keep in mind. They played yesterday afternoon enthusiastically at the stadium. Although may seem grammatically correct, the last sentence is wrong. Okay. So, when you're rewriting the sentence in the order, keep this in mind. Manner, how you're doing the action, followed by place, where you do the action. And lastly, time. Okay, time comes last. Keep this in mind. Moving on, passive form of the verb. So you will be given a paragraph like this, and in bracket you will be given verbs. Passive form of the verb. So how do you write the verbs? So the passive form of the verb, whenever the verb is given in the bracket, you should always modify the verb. Okay, how do you modify the verb? You use the be verb, okay, and the past participle of the main verb. Okay, so you should always use the be verb along with the past participle of the main verb. So what is the be verb? Okay, be verb. So the V1 form of be verb, you guys have learned V1, V2, V3. What is V1? Present. So be form of the present form of the be verb is am, is, and are. Okay, am, is, are. So when is am used? When it's I, first person singular. It is I am. Okay. When is used? When it's third person singular. He is, she is, it is. Okay. When is are used? Second person, you. Okay, you is neither second person singular or plural. You are. Now V2. V2 would be was and were. Okay. Was and were. That is past. Okay. So again, you know when to use was, when to use were. Was is third person singular. Were is third person plural. Okay. Raksha. So let's solve the question. Always keep this in mind. Be verb plus V3. V3 is past participle of the verb. Okay. Eaten. Eat, ate, eaten. Some verbs have past participle, some don't. Some, the V2 is only V3. For example, greeted. Greeted, greeted. Greeted is the V2 and V3. Okay. But always V3 will be what will be written. Okay. So eat is the verb. You should write eaten in the answer along with the be verb. You do not write ate. Keep this in mind. Raksha arrives at her college. So in the first sentence itself, we know the tense every day. Raksha arrives at her college by 10 a.m. every day. So she's doing this every day. So it's simple present. She teaches English. Again, present. Okay. She teaches English. So we know now that we need to be using the present form. Okay. She is greeted is correct. As I told you earlier, it's in the present. She is used for, she is third person singular. So she is greeted. The V3 form of greet is greeted only. Okay, greeted. She is greeted by her students on her arrival. She is greeted. Her classes. So the subject is not her. The subject is her classes. So her classes is singular or plural? Her classes are plural. Okay. Her classes. Now we know it's present. So are loved. Her classes are loved is correct. Her classes are loved by her students. Her classes are loved by her students. Okay. Now she. Next is she. Third person singular. So it's in the present again. She is. She is. What should be the verb again? I told you V3. So V2 and V3 of respect is same. Respected only. She is respected. She is respected by her colleagues too. So this will be your answer. Raksha arrives at her college by 10 a.m. every day. She teaches English. She is greeted by her students on her arrival. Her classes are loved by her students. She is respected by her colleagues too. Got it? Okay. So if it's in the past, you'll get to know, right? Like they taught. So you'll identify the sentence, and based on that, you need to change. If it is in the present, it will already be given by reading the first sentence itself. You can identify if the tense is in the present of the paragraph or not. Okay. So I hope everything is discussed. Okay. So all the best for your first internals. Score optimum marks. Okay. English is very easy. So just pay attention. So you can get optimum marks. All the best for your upcoming tests and exams. This is Darryl Matthew George signing off. All the best. Thank you. Bye.